Stakeholders are advocating the establishment of migration information centers and the activation of the Migration Commission to enforce Ghana's migration laws as a move to stem the tide of wholesale irregular migration by Ghanaian youth to seek greener pastures. They're also championing massive sensitization drives to disabuse the minds of young people of the misconception about life outside the shores of Ghana. This has become imperative following recent reports of daylight slave auctioning and sale of West African migrants by militia groups in Libya.
Days after they arrived in Ghana and told their traumatic stories from failed trips to Europe, there's been condemnation and sympathy of equal measure from many quarters. Starved, abused and manhandled, some of them arrived in Ghana very ill. A JoyNews DW conversation on migration sought to bring stakeholders together to find ways of addressing the issue of irregular migration, which has so far left thousands of Africans killed in Libya. Dr. Joseph Tay is director at the Center for Migration Studies at ISE.
Poverty alone is not the problem, and that must be understood. The statistics so far shows that most of the people that cross through the desert, some of them are not the poorest of the society. If you look at the money they pay to connection men alone, you have a better understanding. And that is what shows that the situation is complex. People are paying $5,000, 5,000 euro to connection men to cross. So the major factor we have to look at as a country is misconception about life out there.
Solomon, one of the 127 migrants rescued from the torture in a detention camp in Libya, opens up. He is one of many young people who sold their valuables just to make the deadly trip to Europe through Libya.
Even 2 rooms,
Many of us sold our valuables, our cars, other properties, and even our homes to facilitate our trip to Libya.
And almost 20,000 people. But a day, each day,
at least 50 people die. Some of them tell me they know they would not be issued the visas and travel documents. Middlemen, called connection men, then take advantage.
Connection man take me a 65 million. He said that Italy. Yeah.
So where is he now? Do you know what?
I know him. I will show you the name. The name you call Awudu. Awudu. Yeah.
How did you meet him?
I met him a secondary. So right now, if you tell me that I should go and show you, it run on. They run. It take Sierra Leone, Comoros, Senegal, Cameroon. It take money and run. Right now, Arab man won't find Awudu, but Awudu is run.
After at least 6 months of torture in Libya, after failing to get to Italy via the Mediterranean, Peter regrets making the move.
We are 17 in the same place in Takoradi, but right now 4 years here. The curse 7. Ask my boys, you mean if they catch you and you say that pay money 50 million, if you don't pay, you go flog you. Flog you means beat. Don't take a stick or pipe, water waste pipe.
Stories of Peter and Solomon are just a few of the very harrowing experiences of torture and pain these migrants go through in the North African country.
We
were brutalized and some of us were sold and then taken to prison.
For and so I'm anti a jare cramming jare bida, and I'm indigenous, my brepa, the Hunina promo more BSF.
I haven't had my bath since. Many of us are ill.
A man for Yale, and Gubiano Palada, Mijamitini Munamunaya.
For those who are unlucky, they fall victim to slave trade and human trafficking. Others are taken hostage by militia groups and ransoms demanded from their families before they're released, failing which they are killed. 19-year-old Abdul Samed came face to face with a syndicate.
Those Arab people, they will beat you, then you are controlling money from your family, like 100 million. Before that 100 million will reach those Arab people you have there. Then they will collect the money. You have dead, you understand? One of my brother, he reached 1.5 years inside prison. He have paying him money for him to go to Libya, but he reached there, they sold him again. His family don't get money, 25 million. You don't have the money. He reached 1.5 years. Then the Arab man tell those Ghana following people that they should go and kill this my brother. You understand me? Then they carry him, put inside car. Then police see that where they are taking this my brother. You understand? They are going to kill him. You understand? If it's not those police, they have killed him. You understand? Plenty people are kidnapping, they are raping. See, Libya is not a place to go. You understand?
But in the face of these narratives, Ghana's Foreign Affairs Ministry says it cannot confirm if any Ghanaians have fallen victim to this modern slave trade and human trafficking syndicates in Libya.
It has also been alleged that some Ghanaians have been mentioned. That has not been proven. The authenticity of these Ghanaians cannot be proven, or has not been proven at this stage.
Ghanaian-born English lecturer in Libya, MacDonald Simpson, a man who has lived over 2 decades in a North African country, doubts Ghana's Foreign Affairs Ministry's recent claims.
With regards to the slave issue, it's very true. I've personally spoken to Ghanaians who were sold, but I saw a Foreign Affairs report that says that Ghanaians were not among. It's because the Ghana representative went to just one camp. But when you go to the southern part of Libya, there are about 150 Ghanaians who are trapped in camps and ready to be sold. This is from my own experience. So the report that came out that there were Ghanaians not among, well, it's kind of sketchy. It's kind of sketchy.
For him, a more concerted effort, including massive education on life beyond the shores of the country, could deter many of these Ghanaians who are lured by the lavish lifestyles lived by some of these successful returnees.
Sometimes we have to blame ourselves, the Ghanaians. Libya is an Arabic country. We have to ask ourselves, why are some of these people arrested? What happens? Okay, some of them were going to Italy, they were arrested. Some of them have no documents, they were arrested. Some of them got drunk, they were arrested. Libya is a Muslim country, they hate alcohol. But some of our brothers, they find means to distill alcohol in Libya. And when they are arrested, they keep them in these camps, and then they send them to the southern part of Libya, and then they are sold. The slave masters are militias. Libya is a lawless state now. It's a failed state. Militias rule the country. So these militias, they've taken advantage of the security situation in Libya. As we speak now, there are Ghanaians going to Libya. As we speak right now. Last week, 40 Ghanaians were arrested at the Tripoli airport. Somebody told them that there is a company recruiting laborers from Ghana. You know, I mean, I don't know, we call them connection men. Now, these guys have been arrested. We don't know whether they have been deported. They came with fake documents. They have been arrested. So sometimes we have to blame ourselves. We have to get information before we go out.
The International Organization for Migration, which has been facilitating the rescue and dignified repatriation of migrants, wants more to be done. The organization is hopeful the establishment of migration information centers, for example, could help disabuse the minds of the youth about the misconceptions that lure the youth to seek greener pastures.
But what we can do is to minimize it, to ensure that, one, we give our nationals accurate and reliable information about what is happening out there. That is why we have partnered with some governmental institutions like the Ghana Immigration Service to set up the Migration Information Center in Sunyani, and then also resource the Migration Information Bureau at the Ghana Immigration Service headquarters to offer a neutral space where prospective migrants can go for accurate and reliable information about the migratory activity they would want to undertake.
Of the 127 who were successfully airlifted into the country, the IOM says it has a plan to monitor and offer psychosocial support to the most vulnerable ones to aid the reintegration process.
Ideally, if we had a migrant reception center, I'm not talking about prison or detention centers. If we had well-structured migrant holding centers, that is where they should have been. We took all their details, their contact, how we could contact them, to ensure that we could follow up, to give them those who really in need of psychosocial counseling support. We are going to follow up to ensure that we give them this support. Aside that, we had our colleagues from the Migration Health Assessment Center who already identified some of the returnees with some medical conditions. We'll be following up to ensure that all these are well taken care of.
But beyond the psychosocial support, these returnees are uncertain about what kind of life awaits them back home. Picking up the pieces of wasted months and years would not come easy, but they need a starting point.
Like the beginning, I learned Mason from school, and even I learned it from the house. So I would like to join my master so that we work together. Or if I get any opportunity, like anyone employing me in any company, I will just humble myself so that they employ me for that job.
What kind of help do you need at this point? That you are back in Ghana, you are going to be reunited with your family. What kind of help specifically do you need?
You understand? The time I did in this Ghana, I work like tomatoes box. You know that tomato box that they used to take it to Burkina Faso. That's what. Yeah. If I work it, then I sell some. You understand? I'll go and buy it, then I sell it. You understand? That what? If I get money now, I read Ghana. I can start my business. My eyes will not see some one thing, then I'll take it. You understand? You understand me? But now they say we should take us our hand like this. Go from this small money that they give us is how much? How much did they give us? 4.4. Yeah. This clothes I cannot take it to home. It's shame. You understand? It's shame. I'll go and buy new clothes. This one is Sinte. You know Sinte?
Director at the Center for Migration Studies, Adisa Joseph Tay, at the JoyNews DW Migration Dialogue, also noted a policy to empower institutions to clamp down on connection men and recruitment agencies who are to blame for the increase in migration and human trafficking offenses could be a panacea.
We have to get our institutions working. We also need good legislative framework, policies to control the activities of connection men in particular. Then we also need to regulate the recruitment agencies so that they are able to work efficiently. We also need bilateral agreements. We have best practices from Sri Lanka, Mexico, and other countries that have labor agreements. And I think the government of Ghana can do well by engaging the government of developed countries to engage into development partnership that will involve export of labor so that people will have the correct channels of migrating.
In 2012, an amendment was made to Section 52, Clause 2 of the Migration Act to criminalize migrant smuggling in the country. Article 3 of the United Nations Protocol Against the Smuggling of Migrants defined migrant smuggling as procurement in order to obtain directly or indirectly a financial or other material benefit of the illegal entry of a person into a state party of which the person is not a national of a permanent resident. But some watchers are advocating the establishment of a migration commission to properly enforce the migration law and afford immigration service and other groups the teeth to bite. Information Minister Mustafa Hamid agrees.
The migration law that you alluded to that has been passed, my understanding is that what we need to get it working is the setting up of a migration commission. My understanding is that that sits firmly in the Ministry of the Interior. So I can assure you, going away from here, that I'm going to talk with the Minister for Interior and say, look, you need to activate the Migration Commission immediately to get the migration law to begin to work. I can assure you that I would tell the President about the concerns, about the failings of the African Union. I know that this President is very passionate about playing a leadership role on the African continent, and that at the next African Union meeting, he ought to make a strong statement to galvanize his colleagues to be able to stem the tide of this migration issue for the benefit of the African people. That I can also assure you about.
While we wait for the activation to happen, the hope is that from the heartbreaking stories that these returnees have shared, coupled with a lot more sensitization and education, the youth will remain right here, where the grass is greener. Komla Adum, Joy News, Accra.